Good evening, honorable judges. Good evening, participants. Well, I love banana, and I do believe that one or two participants, or even the judges ourselves, love to consume banana. Well, I'll tell you about two different cases that had happened in my lovely country, Indonesia. The story was began in my lovely hometown, Palembang, South Sumatra, Indonesia, where there are so many people who love to consume banana. But this is the fact that I found out. There are so many people who love to throw the banana peels away without thinking about the prospect. Can you imagine if each of us throw the banana peels away, then it will not only create a small amount, but a big bunch of banana peels, ended up more and more from this number into this number, ended up more to this number, into this number, and the big possibilities that might be happen in the future is that, well, banana peels burn. Well, I'll tell you into the second fact. I'll bring you to the place exists in Jakabaring, Palembang, where there are so many people who love to use the stormwater as their daily need. But can you imagine if the people who live around those areas love to use this polluted water, whether it's for washing, taking a bath, or something for cooking? Well, it will lead to the new problem as this water is not a qualified water to be consumed. Well, everyone, as a student, let me solve this problem by introducing you to my experiment, which is titled Activated Carbon from Putrie Waste as Ammonia Removal in Polluted Water. Well, my name is Putrie Rizki. I'm representing Indonesia. So, let's start this presentation by telling you about the background for my experiment. So, I have the first case, which is the banana peel waste. Maybe some of you will just think that this is only the wasting, but don't you know that there are 6 million tons a year production of banana in Indonesia? Means that there are also 6 million banana peels just thrown away to the ground. And then, the previous research shows that banana contains 50.6% of the carbon for every 100 grams. Another thing is, banana peels waste burning contribute more carbon dioxide to the air. Means that if you just let away the banana peels on the ground and you just burn it down, means that it will create more carbon dioxide contribute to the air and create a new problem. Well, next, I'll introduce you to my 3 different candidates of banana varieties used in my experiment. So first is tanduk banana, this one, and second one is putrie banana, this one, and the third one is udang banana, this one. So next is, I'll tell you about my second problem. That there's the problem of the stormwater or the polluted stormwater. So what happened with this stormwater? There are so many chemical fertilizer pollution that salt in the water. Another one is that the plant and animal waste decays was found out in the water, and then also the bacterial processes also contained in the water. So it will contribute more ammonium hydroxide salt in the water. So what happened? What happened with the water that salt much of ammonium hydroxide? Well, it will create the low level of oxygen contained in the water. Why? As ammonium hydroxide salt in the water means that it will create many of hydroplants grow on that water, and those plants will just carry in the oxygen as they will use it as their photosynthesis process. Also, the pH is subnormal. Why? Because ammonia is one of the best substance, and third one is that it has the strong odor. So it will create the cell damage in your body through your swallowing or even you just smell it. So let me tell you about what I'm going to make. So this is activated carbon. So activated carbon is the compound from any organic material with a high carbon content that is activated by the activators in order to create the large pores on the surface which be able to attract nanoparticles from another substance. There are also the function from the activated carbon. So the first one is that it's usually used as home water purification system, And the second one is that it's usually used to remove some of the contaminants that have been discovered in water supplies. How about the research objective from my experiment? So, first is to determine the most optimum barnacle variety to produce activated carbon, and the second one is that to determine the most optimum activators and the effectiveness of ammonia absorption test. So let me tell you about the next step, which is how to make this activated carbon. So first is, we need to collect those 3 different samples, which are first tanduk, putri, and udang barnacles list, and then we need to wash them in aquarius in order to make them hygiene, and cut them into 2 times 2 centimeters in order to make them more easier to dry. And the next one is that we need to do the dehydration process. And this dehydration process was took place under sunlight for 2 days long, and also we need to put them in the oven for 150 degrees Celsius for 50 minutes long. Next is the carbonization process. So in this carbonization process was took place in 300 degrees Celsius for 5 hours long, and the next one is the activation process. So here in my activation process, I did use 2 different activators. The first one is sodium hydroxide 0.1 molars, and the second one is the sulfuric acid 0.1 molars. So in this activation process was spent 10 hours long. Next one is that after we did those activation process, we need to dry all the samples at 110 degrees Celsius for 2 hours long. Then we just directly put those samples in the seed bucket. Why? It's to prevent the air have the direct contact with the carbon, which could decrease the effectiveness of those carbon to react with another particle. And the next one is that we need only take 1 gram of each sample, and we need to put it in 20 milliliters of ammonium hydroxide 1.2 molar concentration, and we'll wait just for 2 hours long. And then after we did those activation after we did put those samples in the ammonium hydroxide solution, then we need to do the filtration process to separate between residues and solid filtrate. So we need to do the next step, the filtrates are put in the beaker. Then we need to test this filtrate by doing the 3-session process by using acetic acid 1 molars. Then this is the last product for my experiment. Just like you can see together that the filtrate after the 3-session process that has the low ammonia concentration, and also the pH is normal. And the next one is the experiment result. So first is, how about the percentage decrease of barnacle weight after the dehydration process in 110 degrees Celsius? So just like we see together that at the first time, I used the first weight, which are 100 grams, and then based on this graph, that can conclude that 100 barnacles contain salt water, then do another barnacles in this dehydration process, because the water content was reduced up to 63.4%. And the next one is that the percentage decrease of barnacle weight after carbonization process in 300 degrees Celsius. So as we know together that before I told you, this carbonization process will take place after we did this dehydration process. So here we can conclude that after carbonization process, the water content of Putrie barnacles decreased significantly. It reduced up to APCYS 0.03%. And the last thing but not least is percentage of decrease of ammonia 1.2 molars after absorbed by barnacles activated carbon. So just like we see together that here I have the baseline of ammonia, which are 1.2 molars, and you can conclude from this graph that some barnacles with sodium hydroxide 0.1 molars as the activators could reduce ammonia concentration effectively up to 97% compared to another varieties. How about the conclusions? So here we can conclude that tanduk barnacle is the most optimum barnacles variety to produce activated carbon compared to putri and udang barnacles. And the second one is that sodium hydroxide 0.1 molars is the most optimum activators in the term of effectiveness of ammonia absorption test compared to sulfuric acid 0.1 molars. So how about the future work for my experiment? Here, I need to research the cellulose content in banana peels so that it can reduce the ammonia concentration significantly. And then the second one is that researching the possibilities of using the natural material as water filtrate to produce potable water. And the next one is, as I did the filtration process, so here I will create the residue waste. So here in my future work, I will use the residue waste and make it into alternative briquettes. Well everyone, activated carbon from separate waste can be decreased significantly the amount of ammonia in the polluted water. So here, it's time for me to say is, no banana peels work anymore. Also, significantly decrease ammonia pollution in storm water. And welcome banana peels and goodbye ammonia. Thank you.